Good afternoon and welcome to the webinar for Midnight Anytime Blinds. My name's Tim Eisenhauer. I work for OnMarket. We are the licensed investment platform that's helping Midnight Anytime Blinds with their crowdsourced funding campaign. Jennifer, today we're going to run for probably anywhere between 45 to 60 minutes. I'm going to provide some details for Midnight's raise. Then I introduce the managing director and the head of sales and marketing for Midnight Anytime Blinds, and they're going to do a short sort of 10-15 minute overview presentation. After that, we move to you guys, the attendees, and your questions. So we encourage you to use the button at the bottom, the Q&A button, the bottom of your screen, to ask any questions, and we run a questions from the crowd session. So please put your questions in, and we'll look to get those answered for you. So first thing we want to do then is just talk a little bit about the campaign. Midnight Anytime Blinds is raising up to $1 million from their crowdsourced funding campaign. At the moment, the campaign is in what we call the expression of interest stage, or the EOI stage. They've received a lot of interest from many potential investors wanting to buy shares. Importantly, their offer opens to those that have expressed their interest next Tuesday, and that's March the 24th. At that stage, you'll be able to see, and there's been a lot of requests in questions in the EOI phase at the moment for copies of the firm's offer document. That'll be made public to those that express their interest, and that'll be available to you next Tuesday. And a lot of that information we'll have John and Sam running through today. Please remember, just from a crowdsourced funding campaign, that retail investors are capped at $10,000. If you want to invest more than $10,000, you will need to be a sophisticated investor and get the required account certificate for that. I'd now like to introduce you to John, the Managing Director of Midnight Anytime Blinds, and Sam, their Sales and Marketing Director, who are going to take us through sort of 10 to 15 minutes of slides, and then we'll get back to you with questions. So John and Sam, welcome.
Thanks, Tim. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Looking forward to running all this through you. With you, and you've got a lot of information. Hopefully we get lots of questions, so it's pretty exciting times.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys, and hope you enjoy the next couple of minutes. Throwing over to John now. He's just going to share his screen and run through the next stages of the slides.
So we're bringing you Australia's best blackout blind system. Quick summary of our story. 2013, we started the screenaway business to solve the problem of removing ugly fly screens to clean windows. 2018, we sold the rights to that product to a group backed with the Australian Outdoor Living. In 2019, just before COVID really hit, we started on a redesign of a blackout blind system, because that became our market leader. And in 2020, created Midnight Anytime Blinds with 3 partners and started patenting designs and R&D. 2021-22, obviously the market landscape with COVID was dramatic change. We just did a soft launch because we weren't fully tooled up to really get the product going. We're working out of a shed in Virginia, in South Australia's north. Just really to get some market feedback and do a lot of DIY testing as well. 22-23, we got all our tooling put together, updated patents as we go, and getting ready for some market growth. And we explored manufacturing partnerships with our main aluminium supplier, which is Spec, to start producing DIY kits nationwide. 23-25, got into our own manufacturing facility out of Paraka, and continued our market expansion. Currently, we're just sitting now into our makeshift office in the new larger facility. So we've been 3 years at the Paraka facility and now moved to Salisbury Plain to a 480 square metre facility. We got half the tooling put in there this week. We expect to be up and running again by Saturday. And part of that will be having the largest blackout blinds showroom in Australia, which will be quite spectacular. Because we're not scared to show our products. It's quite spectacular when the room goes completely black. We've got a few strategic partnerships that are happening now with Evian Studios. That's run by Evan Montero, who founded DIY Blinds, which was the biggest online blind company in Australia, for Queensland and New South Wales market. We've got a strategic partnership with Into Blinds for the Victorian market. They're a $20 million plus retailer in Victoria. Also, we've just kicked off, been working on, sorry, since November, but sales are just kicking off next month with Aspect Living in New Zealand. They've got over 400 retailers in New Zealand. And really exciting development the last few weeks is that we'll be featured on the 2026 season of the TV show The Block. So we've already done the first installs last week over there, and that goes for the next 3 months, doing rooms at a time. We've also been invited by Scotty Cam from The Block to fit out his new house in Sydney, which will be a really good collaboration opportunity. And this was all set up by Evan from the DIY Blinds company. We also scored a big one this week with Reece Walsh, who's the superstar NRL player, for his new house in the Gold Coast. So he was measured up yesterday, and Sam's going to be working closely with him to see if we can get some collaboration work with him as well. We also just released our dual system, which is a blackout blind plus privacy blind Australia-wide, which is a really exciting product, not just for the retailers, but for also our DIY market. It's very popular already. Our vision, where we want to get to, we want to get to the 800,000 to $1 million a month in the next 2 years. Our 480 square meter warehouse that will allow us to really increase our stock holdings. At the moment, we get broken deliveries from our suppliers just purely because we're limited by space. Whereas we can go to getting full loads at a time, which will bring our cost of goods down by about 30 to 40%. Currently, our capacity will be around 200 units per day with a single shift. We've got the latest manufacturing equipment already, so we don't need any of that stuff. We just really need the space to scale. We'll be integrating, getting towards the order to dispatch in 5 days or less. Seamless processing from the guys out in the field placing their orders right through to the manufacturing process and dispatch. Automated manufacturing upgrades with CNC machining and things like that, and packaging equipment that can be slotted in to really get the numbers up and keep the costs down. And also there's some new opportunities with SA and federal government manufacturing opportunities for new products. So we've got some new developments which will fall into that category. Then, of course, as we grow, we'll look to attract some of the top talent. We've already got someone like Evan on board who's just invaluable. But then be looking to expand and getting some really top, experienced blinds guys that will bring with them all the contacts from around the world to source products and all that sort of thing that we need. Then the opportunity there is to also explore the international markets with USA and Europe with our DIY product, and also obviously for retailers. But really our focus is on really growing that DIY market because we're just going straight to the consumer. The money goes into the bank and it's just fantastic. Then as we move along, looking at IPO and other growth strategies to be evaluated on an ongoing basis. Hope I'm not going too fast. Products we've got, as I mentioned, the dual blind system. So that's just brand new in the last couple of weeks. So that's a full blockout blind system with a sheer at the back, a privacy blind, and that all fits within your reveal. Nothing comes out into the room. That's what we've installed at the Block last week. And then we've got our standard motorized blackout system, which is just your full blockout. That depends on the size of the reveals. The transformer system, which is the only product of its type, where if you've got a standard roller blind, you can just buy the frames from us and convert your existing blind into a blackout blind. That's our real budget model, but very popular for people that don't want to throw their blinds away. And then the standard roller blind, which we're not really in the standard roller blind market, but we do offer it so people can have standard roller blinds around the house that match their blackout systems that they bought from us. Just give you a quick demo of one of our systems here. This was done for a paramedic up at Mount Barker. Just showing our unique corner fitment. So it just really fits seamlessly in with the surroundings. So that's the whole beauty of it. Nothing actually comes out in the room. You lose no space at all. Obviously ideal, that's Josh on the left-hand side there. That was his room we just saw. But perfect for bedrooms, nurseries, balconies, lounges, closets, spare room, dark rooms, theatre rooms. It's just, it's not only the practicality of getting the sleep, it actually really beautifies the room. They're just really neat. A lot of times people will come home and they don't even know the blinds were there. And that's what the film crew mentioned to us last week on the Block. They were freaked out that, wow, we didn't even know the blinds were actually there. It looks like they come from through the ceiling. So they'll be featured really heavily. Right, features and benefits, convenience. So we got the just being able to have because motorized is our most popular product. We The motorization actually is just as cheap as manual versions because of the manufacturing time taken to do it. The privacy, obviously, people can't see around the corner of the blind. Most normal blinds will have a 25 mm gap around them, also through the bottom, so you don't actually see anything at all through our blinds. Improved sleep quality, that's probably the most significant thing worldwide these days, is the health benefits of good sleep. And that's just a further play that we'll be doing and working with Evan on that sort of communicating those benefits to the consumer, for their kids and for themselves, for the elderly. It's a universal human need to get good sleep. Energy efficiency is another great one, where we stop the convection of cold air or hot air going against your window and bringing that back into the room. So it's like a mild form of double glazing. Obviously, protecting the UV rays from coming in. Quite often, you'll see floorboards, etc., get faded in a certain spot where the sun comes in every day, and that can prevent that. Safety, of course, being cordless, completely cordless product. There's no chance at all to get kids or animals getting entangled in them. And customization. Every blind can be customized. You can have there's apps that you can use for your phone, so you can program them, control them from anywhere in the world. It's just the systems are so good these days. So I'll throw over to Sam now, and he can tell you a bit about how good he is and where he's at with everything with our marketing.
Cool. All right. Thanks, guys. I'm just going to request to share the screen because I don't have access to that right now, but I'll jump over to what I'm going to go through from now. So, in my previous history, I was the head of creative at Filtered, which was the agency that was recommended for building out the national rebrand and everything for Screenaways. So, I guess the bringing that experience from that business over to us, and from there we turn over from 5 mil to 21 million in just 18 months. So that was a really big turnaround in them. There was plenty of media coverage over this. But outside of that, it was expanding the operations across 5 states with a unified creative and digital foundation. We built an end-to-end marketing system with using a national rollout, which included brand campaigns, paid media, and creative strategy. From there, we reached around 49 million people, with videos hitting around 14 million video views as well. So I guess from here, it's just bringing that experience of what videos are going to convert, how we reach those videos, and using the most effective marketing strategies to be able to reach the right people. If you want, John, go over the next screen as well. So from here, I guess our business is broken down into 3 key sections. We've got the retail side, which is us servicing through South Australia and WA and servicing the market ourselves. And then we've got strategic partners through the wholesale areas. So these are all the little dots around Australia and New Zealand that will unify the wholesale partnerships and utilizing their sales teams and getting them to sell our products. But most excitingly is bringing that experience into DIY. And that's given us the ability to service all of Australia. So that's a really key thing, to be able to send our products wherever we need to, and sending them direct to the door. So the product itself is really simple to install. And yeah, it's an amazing product. So, John, I'll let you speak about the strategic partnerships from him.
Okay, thanks, Sam. We had tried over the past few years of trying to find the right retailers to take on that part of it. We didn't want to set up a national team of salespeople, installers. It just was when our whole focus was about setting up the DIY online shop. So we tried a few different ones, but by far the best and most active one was when In2 Blinds approached us late last year. Big company, over $20 million turnover, lots of sales staff, lots of experience, run by 2 brothers. So the decision makers are those 2 guys. They can decide things straight away, get things moving, and they just took off within 2 months and just really going well now with that. And yeah, we're working closely with them. We get a lot of feedback from them. Obviously, every market you go to, even just in Australia, they've got different idiosyncrasies with each house. So that helps us with our product development and making it universal, just continually innovating and make it universal. Aspect Living from New Zealand was another exciting development that came to us mid last year, and that was through a recommendation from our largest fabric supplier, which was Shore Fabrics, when they were in New Zealand. Aspect was relaying to them how it was difficult to find a decent blackout solution over there. They've got the standard. There's two products that are available that just don't really block out the light. So he kindly recommended us. He was the national sales manager. He recommended us because we'd already done his house in Geelong, and so we've been working with them now since back in September, and we've sent all the displays to them, samples to them, and they've been out to their 400 retailers just this month. That's 470 retailers actually, and so they're looking now to start taking sales within the next month or two. They currently manufacture around 12,000 blinds a month, roller blinds. So they'll be purchasing frames from us, and we'll send them over there, and they'll be marrying them up with their blinds. And then down the track, we'll probably look at a licensing arrangement with them because they're such a big manufacturer, and eliminate that cost of transporting across the ditch, as they say. Obviously, the block is just something that's come on board. We only found out about this about 3 weeks ago because everything's really kept tight. Really exciting development. So we'll be doing all the bedrooms and guest rooms in the block houses over the next 3 months. It's probably every 2 or 3 weeks we go over there. It's a bit of a fun thing. It's exactly the sort of chaos you see on the TV, where we go in there with our pre-measured blinds, but in the meantime they've changed things around 3 times, so things have to be cut down and reinstalled. But it's actually very exciting. You don't get often to be on a program that's going to get over 1.5 million viewers per episode, and around 2.5 million on the grand final. And having the camera guys express to us how excited they were to see a really new product in the system, will be something that we're looking forward to them really highlighting. So really exciting. Best part about that is as well, we didn't actually have to pay for it. So we will be supplying product, but we don't have to pay for the sponsorship. Okay, past previous 12-month performance. So we've done a major shift, both with our branding and our structurally after 18 months of R&D testing. In April 2025, we began an official rebrand, marking the start of a new growth strategy. Just putting my screen up here. And then really strengthening our retail channels. It's all about scale, but not scaling a whole sales team all around Australia. We want to scale the factory and our production and set up a really fantastic state-of-the-art manufacturing facility and scaling there and looking after the Adelaide market. But the rest is wholesale and DIY only. So since we've had that turning point, the results have been really clear. The income's gone through the roof. Profits are starting to increase, and we're just really looking to tighten all that up, and especially with being able to carry stock and significantly cut down our cost of goods, although we're already well under our competitors' pricing, just really looks good for the future.
Alrighty. So a part of my role as well coming on last April was building out a full brand overhaul. So during that period, we essentially recreated everything from the ground up. So the previous brand was good, but we wanted to give that a very modern and premium scalable brand. So we rebuilt the complete website. We did a full logo and brand brand guidelines and everything just updated. But most importantly, the big thing here especially for DIY is the ability to switch out products on the fly as well, because the configurator that we built is all custom built on the back end. It seamlessly integrates with all of the back end systems that we've got for manufacturing. But most importantly, you can configure the price, you can customize your products, you can add upsells. We're constantly changing this and revising this as well. And as John mentioned before, we integrated our dual system as well. So that was a really good opportunity to be able to have another upsell opportunity. So you can either order a single blind or move across to the dual blackout blind, and is increasing our revenue as we go that, because that's been a very popular option as well. But yeah, overall, if you haven't checked out our website as well, the DIY section, and we'll continue to build out this as well. But if you haven't seen the DIY section, I'd encourage you to have a look and see how seamless it is for yourself. Yeah, I guess that's it for that one. John, you want to speak about the performance?
Yep. Okay. So the previous 12-month performance, looking at the graphs, you can see how the growth is starting to really ramp up. We've always been a little bit hamstrung with our space in the last facility, which was only just over 200 square meters. So there was a lot of crisscrossing of product and half-finished product and going back and repackaging. So we're looking forward to really getting things moving here. We've had definitely a strong uplift in profits since the April rebrand. Rapid growth from July onward as the DIY is really starting to take off now because the reviews are fantastic. A lot of reorders, a lot of word of mouth recommendations, people coming back 2 and 3 times to buy, people that have moved houses coming back to buy for their next house. Because one of the best things about it is once you sleep in a room with a full blackout system, you're going to find it very hard to ever sleep in a room that doesn't have it. So as we've got here, the period reflects a diversified and scalable model, balancing consistent wholesale relationships, strong retail presence, and the emerging DIY channel, which really positions us for sustained national expansion. And it's all about scalability. We can scale. Our equipment has got massive underutilized expansion capabilities already. So we don't have to have a big investment in that. It's just really about our marketing and just getting the products out there and increasing the factory turnout. So the 12 months breakdown is wholesale, which is up to other retailers. The ones we were talking about before is around the 240,000. The retail part of it, which was through the Adelaide market and WA, around the 400,000. Sorry, Adelaide market only. DIY was up around the 408,000, and then WA is around 800,000. So around about 1.8 million. So current, just a bit of a snapshot on the financial breakdown at the moment. So we're doing around 100 to 130K a month, with the SA retail market showing around 30%. DIY market has had about 340% growth in the last 4 months. That was up to January, so that's actually gone higher since then. Queensland wholesale, that's 20% at the moment, with an average of around 25 to 30K a month. And we're only spending around 3,000 a month there advertising at the moment. It's currently run by my sister out of the Gold Coast. They're just doing it to look after that market. They don't even really go into Brisbane yet. But when Evan is already setting a team up now, a team of 4 sales guys and installers up there that have already been down to Adelaide for training. They'll be kicking that off and we'll be really smashing that market up there. I think Queensland is probably the biggest market in Australia. WA, which is a separate factory over there. It's run by our agent in WA, so they've fully funded the project over there. They're looking to get to around the 200 to 240K a month by the end of this year. They're under license to ourselves, and we'll be working on a royalty basis for them per unit. So they run their whole system. They're not financially they're not a financial liability to us at all. We're an independent, but they have to run under our banner. Sam does all the advertising for them. They've got to go through our account, but they pretty much run by themselves. And the way that we structured it with them is that in any sort of IPO or a sell of the company, they'll get 20% of the value of the WA business, and the rest goes to us, which is great. It's a very hard market over in WA with double brick and plaster houses. And we don't really have to do anything there other than Sam running the marketing campaigns. At the moment, we have no spend in Brisbane, but that'll change as soon as Evan's team is ready in the next couple of weeks. I think they do their first measure and quote next week. So they'll start, they've got about 40 blinds to get measured and quoted up over there. Overall, on all sides of the market, we're averaging around 50% GP, which is a really nice margin to have, and we expect that to improve with the cost of goods coming down with the ability to be able to carry stock. So at the moment, we're doing around 40K a month in SA. That's for us. That's us measuring, quoting, installing in South Australia. We want to grow that pretty quickly to 80K a month at an average of $900 per unit. That's pretty much our base unit price. Nothing much under that. So and sales will be anywhere from a $1,000 sale to a $20,000 sale, but the average sale is probably around $3,500 per house. DIY national at the moment around the 80K mark. We want to get to 160K with an average price of around $800 per unit. That's which is a good good price, but that includes you have to pay extra for remotes. We've got freight components built in there and all that sort of stuff. Normally a DIY would be around $200 less than an installed product. Wholesale 11 studios. So at the moment it's around the 25 to 30K mark, but that's the Gold Coast only. So Evan's going to be covering Evan's studio, which is run by Evan, will be covering Gold Coast and Brisbane. So we think they'll get to 120K pretty quickly. We get a lot of demand up there that we've got to just try and satisfy with DIY at the moment, but he'll be starting to satisfy all of those as well. That'll be an average cost of around $580, which is our wholesale, which is what we do with in-tube blinds as well. So that's send out in bulk, 20 units at a time. So it's really good sales. Wholesale with in-tube blinds in Vic, we're expecting them to go to 160 units. They're doing around 80 units a month at the moment, 80 to 100 units. So they're on the $270 mark at the moment because they were only buying kits to start off with when they first introduced it because they were getting their own roller blinds. But now this month they've actually gone to the full kits. So they'll be up at around the 580 mark as well, which includes the blind. Evan Studio as well will be at that should be 580, around the 580 mark as well. So we're expecting them at the 160 units. That's when they move into New South Wales later on in the year. So we're expecting the same sort of result in New South Wales as what they'll be getting up in Queensland. Aspect New Zealand, we're expecting around the 400 units a month, sorry, once they really get going. That'll be a frame only purchase as well, which is around the 270 mark. And the licensing for WA, target there for this year will be 140 units a month at $65 royalty to us. So around about 9K a month. So use of funds. So as Tim mentioned, we're looking to raise up to $1 million. The shares will be issued at 20 cents with a minimum subscription of $250. So if we were to raise the minimum subscription, obviously we've got really good interest, so I'm not expecting to be locked into this lower one, but sales and marketing, which is where that's all we really need to do to scale is with the sales and marketing, which will be mainly social media, 44,500. Production increases, which is those programming and getting things a bit more streamlined out the back. Working capital, which will mean we can increase our stock holdings, because obviously that's not the only money we've got. We've got money coming in every month as well. So we'd be looking to significantly increase our stock holdings and getting those bulk stocks in that we can really knock the price down. And then the cost of the offer around the 12,000 mark. If we get to the $1 million mark, we'll be really ramping up the $500 to around $500,000 for the sales and marketing. Production, really smash that up as well to 160. Working capital, really fill our shelves with ready-made stock ready to go. And then the offer cost will, of course, will go up to around 70,000. Why us? We've got 2,000 very happy customers. We don't believe in having any unhappy customers. Our reviews speak for themselves. Obviously, it is hard to get reviews from people. We don't have thousands of reviews yet, but all of our customers are really happy. But it's pretty easy to get bad reviews, and thank goodness we don't have any of those. But we do everything to keep our customers happy because word of mouth is everything, especially with the DIY market. Everything's Australian made, so designed and built locally in Australia. We've got some new innovations coming up once the factory's all bedded down that will be launched in August, which will be the only products of its type to be in the system, which will really set us apart. Patented blockout system delivers 100% blockout. So everything you see on the videos, which you'll be able to see in our showroom, you cannot see a thing when that blind comes down. The only light that tends to come in is underneath the door, and that's what people tend to have to fix up once they bought the blinds. Proven results, nearly 18 million views, 441% growth in engagement this year alone. And that's something that, Sam's been a bit restricted with the budget that we've allowed him because we just didn't have the space to be able to meet the demand, which is all changing now. Trusted nationwide, we've done installations at homes, schools and businesses Australia-wide, and quality without compromise. A lot of people get back to us about how good the frames are. Like, they are solid aluminium frames, just like you would have in a window. They're not flopping around. It's a really good piece of hardware, and we just don't get any issues. Thank you very much. So that's everything from me. And we'll hand you back to our lovely hosts.
Thank you, John. Well done. Couple of questions for you. Competitors, what's out there at the moment? Who are your major competitors, and how are you different to them?
Our major competitor, where Sam came across from, is Screenaway, which is the company I started back in 2014. And it was a product that was, the name, as it says, was Screenaway. I designed it to get rid of the fly screens from the windows because my wife was complaining about taking the screens off to clean the windows. And we just one day by fluke, we put some fabric into that frame and it blocked out all the light. And that by that fluke became the biggest part of the business by far. So Screenaway has continued pretty much with what we had. They really smashed the marketing when they took it over from us. They really turned it into a monster and did a great job of it, obviously with the help of Sam. And I had no intention of getting back into the market, but I did because the opportunity arose. So I've just dumbed the whole product down. We don't have any pulleys or springs or breakable parts. The only moving part we have in our product is the motor. So gravity brings it down, the motor takes it back up again. Really simple. Screenaway can't do DIY, not without a lot of difficulty. Ours is made for DIY, but then which makes it even easier for retailers and installers. Jim's blinds also have one as well, but ours is by far the simplest and best priced in the market.
And just the size of the market, questions there around how big is the market and what percentage do you have at the moment compared to Screenaway? And how big can you become in that space?
So Sam can talk a bit about that. Sam's got some experience on that one. If you want to take it on,
Yes.
Sam.
So I guess the size of the market also changes because obviously Screenaway's main business model currently is for the retail side. So the DIY side is where a lot of the market growth can come from, given that they're not in that space at all. And that's public that they don't currently offer any DIY services. So for that, I guess the market share for the DIY side of things will be sitting pretty close up high with anybody at the moment, because if you're comparing apples and apples with something in a direct competition with us, there isn't anyone that is directly offering like that, especially with the dual system, that's unique product to us. For the retail side, it's hard to know because we don't know exactly what their numbers are. And so I'm not privy to that information anymore, unfortunately.
Well, I think taking that back, Tim, Screenaway made it public last year or early last year that they were headed towards 22 million turnover. With us, I think hitting around with WA around the 3.5 mil. So we're probably at, well, what's that? 10%, 12% of, or more, 15% of that market already. And they threw everything at us as well, which was good because the more they promoted themselves, the more people searched and found us.
So in summary, for investors, you're the challenger brand, the disruptor, looking to take market share, and with the capital you raise from this, I saw your use of funds, right? 50% of that's going to marketing and to growth and into acquiring more sales, which makes a lot of sense. Can you just? I was quite interested in, and there's questions coming in around this. The way your business model's set, John, in that you're not looking to put on sales staff, you're looking to partner up or have exclusive licenses, as you got with Victoria and New Zealand, to other parts of Australia. And really, what you're looking to do then is you're wanting to scale. You're scaling really your production, not necessarily your sales team, and doing it that way. Can you just sort of give us something quite neat in terms of summing it up again for us?
Yeah, so the biggest problem we found when I ran Screenaway, and the biggest problem Screenaway and other retailers have, is installers and salespeople. They come and go, and it's constant. It's hard enough just in your own state, much less running a national brand. Like, there'd be nothing worse than waking up in the morning and 3 people in New South Wales haven't rocked up, and you got to have state managers and all of that, and you're laying all that out before you actually make a sale. And that's what we learned. Well, to me, it was about setting up a business that's direct to consumer. I think us handling the South Australian market, we can definitely handle that. We've been doing that for years, and that just the sales from South Australia will be profitable just from when we grow the South Australian market ourselves. But we can manage that. The other retailers like your Evian and Inju Blinds, they've already got 30 people on their team. That's their issue. So they're buying at us. They buy a kit, all nicely packed up, made to order. They get it in 7 days. It's for them to handle. If they want to handle our product, we don't want hassles. We don't want complaints, and that's all part of the system that is being built. That bad reviews is bad reviews for us, even if it's for them. So that's all. They're going to have a whole operating system there on how that goes. So they can scale because they've got access to the best product in the market, which Screenaway doesn't give to other retailers. They do everything themselves. So they've got a unique opportunity. So they have to look after it, and that's why we can scale because we got a machine that can do 400 blinds a day. Now at an average of say $500 to $1,000, that's a huge amount of money we can get. I think the market's around 200 to 300 million because Screenaway is only scratching the surface of just metro only. So the DIY market is where we're really going to get it.
Do you know, John, then what percentage of Australian households have blackout blinds?
It's really tiny, Tim. I get blown away by, we've been doing this since 2013. How many people we still see that go, oh, what a great invention. Why didn't this come out earlier? There's 180,000 to 200,000 new homes built every year. If Screenaway's doing, what were they doing? I think 420,000 units a year, probably 20,000 units a year. So they're only getting 10% of the new ones. There's 9 million existing homes, probably 10 million now. And we're doing around 15% of that. So the untapped market is just enormous. Really is. And it's just.
Yeah. And that's the opportunity here for investors. Yeah. I think that's one of the things that we were attracted by is just how sort of a drop in the ocean the whole industry is at the moment and how big it can potentially become. Yeah. Just a question on valuation for you, John. You mentioned that valuation pre-money is $5 million.
Yep.
Some validation on that. How did you come to that? Has that been internally sourced, or is there comparators there? Is there an externally been validated for you? I know that'll come up in the offer document. It'll be included in there. But just for those that are online or watch the recording of this, can you just delve into that a little bit further for us?
Yeah, obviously my partners would have liked to see the valuation at 20 million, but I think that would have been a hard sell. I think 5 million based on our experiences. Like we've taken losses the last couple of years. We've done all the R&D. The product has proven itself in the market. We've got some exciting new releases, and just the people that we're partnering up validates what we can do. I think the 5 million valuation in 12 months we'll probably think, gee, that was pretty cheap. Because I think we've got Sam on board who's already done this whole trip with Screenaway. We've got Evan, who's set up, DIY blinds. Who's going to put us in touch with all of his suppliers around the world to get product. So we've just got people, and they've come to us, which is fantastic. We weren't headhunting these guys. Sam rang personally to say he wanted to join us, and Evan the same. So I think, people will always try to talk your value down if they're a buyer. If they're a seller, they'll always talk it up. But I think it's a very fair valuation based on what numbers we're going to be hitting pretty quickly. We've got all our capital equipment is already invested in, so it's here. We don't have to go out and buy a $250,000 machine to cut blinds for us. And I think I'm not afraid, as we said in our spiel, that we bring even more experienced people on board that have run $100 million blind companies to really get us to those levels as quick as possible, because it's all about that growth. Own and dominate the market before people have even had a chance to breathe. And we've got that with the DIY. We've got good partners doing the retail. We just want to focus on DIY, keep making it simple, look after the customers, and just once you've owned that market, it's very hard to lose it. You lose it yourself. You can't get it taken away from you.
Yeah, no, good answer. And Sam, just throwing to you, what was John mentioned then that you came to John, you came to the business. What was the main attraction for you that attracted you to Midnight Anytime Blinds?
Yeah, I guess from what the main attraction, it was a great product. Obviously, after I left Screenaway and my agency, and that was after I left the agency itself, I created my own agency, and that was when I had the opportunity to reach out to John. And after speaking to him, we had a really good conversation about what the product, what he's doing, and what the key differences are. Obviously, I also have an e-commerce business myself, so bringing in the learnings from that as well and scaling that to 3 million just off a side project off to the side. So using the main knowledge from what I already know is a really really good opportunity to be able to see what you can do in the market, given that it's a wide open, like there's nothing on the market that can provide such a solution to this. And given that it's such a scale, and yeah, from the outset, it's mainly the opportunity to grow a brand from the ground up, has a unique opportunity because as we're not a big business, we are able to test things dynamically. Like when we have the potential to move into international markets, because it's DIY, we can test the different areas. And same with pockets around Australia. You're not limited to, like John said, putting a whole team in just the one area and see if it works. You really have to go all in on that area. So we can start testing like, rural areas. We don't have to send our staff there. And that was a big thing, like, as John and I discussed with the DIY, is having the ability to be nimble, be able to move around. Obviously, marketing is my kind of my background. So using my experience, it was kind of playing to all my strengths and what I can bring to the company from there.
In relation to the product, is any of the product patented? Is that your technology, John, that you've developed and you have a patent over? Can you run through that?
Yeah, so we've got various patents running. Obviously, it's something you continually. So we have a dedicated attorney. Any little innovations or things that we change as we go along, because when you're out in the market doing installs yourself, you're checking out things, looking at new versions. So we always refer back to him, and then he lodges them if they're applicable, does the searches, and then we lodge. So we've got a few patents running around with our venting system, the light blockout system, parts of the frames, and as I mentioned, we'll be introducing a pretty innovative change which will blow the market in the next 3 months, which again will be another whole series of patents. So yeah, patents are important, but first to market and owning the market is the most valuable thing you can have.
One of the questions that came in online on your EOI was, do the motors and the controllers connect sort of directly to HomeKit and Apple appliances, etc.? Can you sort of talk through that? Is that part of the patents as well?
No, that's existing systems. So you want to have systems that are already universal. So at the moment we use one, which is the smart home app, that you can run through your phones. Otherwise, people can just go for the basic thing, which is the blind that links up straight to the remotes. They get all programmed in, really easy to do, fantastic little system. But if you want to go the next stage for an extra $140 or whatever it is, you can get a RF hub, and that will link up direct to that hub through the app, or you can then hook it to Google or Alexa. And then we'll also because of what Evan's bringing to the table and the contacts, we'll probably have about 4 or 5 different home automation systems. Not carrying all the stock, you don't have to carry the stock, but you just make it available. So if someone's already got their garage door and the sprinklers and the stuff all linked up to a different market app, then we would like to make that available to them as well. So the technology is, there's no more the C-bus wiring up your whole house anymore. It's just it's just so economical and people can just have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, good answer. The inevitable question always comes up. You are an unlisted company. People are buying in. There isn't liquidity because you are an unlisted stock. Questions come up about return on investment, growth path for the next 3 to 5 years. Are we looking at a trade sale, or is there IPOs? What are your plans, and where do you see that going? And how do you think an investor coming in on your crowd raise now has an opportunity to get that return on investment?
Yeah. Obviously, we'd like to have a dividend return policy that actually works and gets people some sort of return in the meantime. But to me, it's all about scaling, as we mentioned before, and that takes money. So this is our first step. I think the scale that we can build with the first lot of investment will be huge. And once we can head towards that, maybe 7 or 8 million turnover, I would be pushing for an IPO. I see that as a great way for people to liquidate or partially liquidate, get their money back, get some more of their money back, and sit in and enjoy the ride. I think it's then it provides you that access to funds to really dominate the market and just because there's other opportunities as well, Tim, where we get asked a lot of questions about, can we do curtains, can we do plantation shutters, all these sorts of things, which we can start to roll in. But again, that takes money for stock and all that sort of stuff. but we usually just pass those leads off to somebody that we know and recommend in the market. Whereas we would like to keep all of those leads because that's valuable. We can probably turn over another 2 or 3 million just in those sales ourselves. And that's what we bring to the table. But it's all about having the money to do that. And once you've become, and Evan will help us a lot with that because that's exactly what they did. And so that then you become a full service company that just cuts out competitors left, right, and center because they won't have the blackout offering. The blackout offering is what gets you in the door, and then you can sell all the other stuff around it. So,
So does there, given the demand that potentially is coming down the line, and you've spoken strongly about that, you've got the partnerships with the block and collaborations with certain people, and with the distributors and your licensed agreements, etc., going out. Does there become a supply chain issue for you? Is there a production capacity at the factory that you need to expand on that? I mean, what is capacity, on a weekly or monthly basis for creating blinds? And do you need to then grow that and put a massive sort of capex into building another plant in Australia, another factory in Australia? What is the plan there to scale and to do it in a way where you're sort of not stuck with a shortage of inventory?
Yeah. Great question. That's always one of our biggest fears. But we have two suppliers for aluminium now. We've got multiple suppliers for every product because obviously being extruded, not everything's extruded in Australia because just with the tooling and manufacturing capabilities we have. And then obviously you have world events like COVID and what's going on at the moment that can really affect, or typhoons that affect, the Asian ports and things like that. And that's another thing that's going into the redesign that we're doing at the moment is that by reconfiguring some of our extrusions, everything will be able to be made locally. So that'll handle that part of it. Supply chain issues is really about keeping stock on hand. And that's one of the things. Our spec's been great with holding stock for us, but I feel more comfortable if it's sitting on the floor in the warehouse, so that we can have at any one time 3 to 4 months worth of stock sitting on our shelves, especially if we can get it 40% cheaper. Capacity, the main choke point when you're manufacturing blinds is the cutting of the blinds. We've got the latest ultra cut machine, which we've had for a couple of years now. The guys just were here from Melbourne relocating it over the last 3 days. That can do 400 blinds a day. So everything is built around that. Our metal cutting is the same. We can do 400 blinds a day, and then it's just the people to put it together. So it's just a matter of increasing our staff on the floor to manufacture. Everything else will be streamed. That's the hardest part is already done. If we're doing 400 blinds a day, you're looking at 200,000 a day turnover at a wholesale rate. So we're right up there then with being a $50 million company, and that would be a nice position to be at before we'd have to go again.
Where does, in terms of your scaling and your expansion, where does the international growth fit in? You're looking to conquer and have a presence in all of Australia first and really ramp up, as you mentioned, Queensland and WA and South Australia, etc., before you looked at, I know you've got New Zealand there, before you looked further afield. How does that sort of map out, and will there need to be another capital raise in order to do that?
Tim, as Sam mentioned, we can explore those markets from Australia. We've already done the exercise before Mr. Trump put the bloody tariffs on there. And we were ready to actually start marketing in the US and sending from Australia. We can send a blind door to door from our factory in SA to a house anywhere in the States for around $120 at a retail price of around $800, which puts it against the other products over there. So we can test those markets and see how it goes and get the feedback. We know our product's a lot simpler. We've already done some test installs over there. We've got a $80,000 US a grant for the US market from the South Australian government, which we haven't used, which we were ready to start with. Sam's already done a mirror website for the US dollar conversion inches and all that sort of stuff we have to do. But we didn't push the button because FedEx and the large logistics guys can't give us a number on what the tariffs are going to be when it hits any individual state, because most of the states have got their own thing as well. And they said the easy way around it is you make the customer pay for the duty, but that just gets really messy as well. So then the New Zealand opportunity came along, so we thought let's get that going, get the new factory going, then we'll definitely start testing the market in the US and Europe, because we can do it from here. Ultimately, you'd want to have somebody over there manufacturing to get rid of that 100 plus US transport cost and make it even more compatible. But at least you can go over there and make a bit of noise, and nobody can hurt you. You're not spending. My previous company, Screenaway, set up a little factory over in Texas, and it's cost them around $7 million. That's a big outlay and big risk. We don't need to do that.
A few interesting questions coming in around the block. Can you go through that just again for us? How did it come about? Is that you approaching the block and saying, hey, we've got a great product that might suit the houses? Is it an ongoing relationship year on year, or is this a one-off? And then I guess the other thing around it is it, how does it work? Do they have to mention and showcase the blind technology being installed? I'm sure you want as much screen time as you possibly can get, and they have to say positive things about it. I mean, it's quite intriguing, right? A little behind the scenes snippet would be great.
It was huge for us. The hardest part is getting Sam away from the cameras. He's always in front of the cameras because he's a pretty boy. No, it's purely because we built a strong relationship with Evan over the last couple of years. He was trying to get our blind system into the DIY system, but then there was a parting of ways between him and DIY, and he's gone off on his own. He's got a very strong relationship with the guys on the block, with Julian, the executive producer, Scott Cam. Like, everybody just loves him. Like, I couldn't believe how he told us a lot of stories, but you sort of don't, you believe it, but I didn't realize the scale that it actually was. When we had Screenaway, Jamie Jury was our product ambassador. So he got us to meet with Julian and the guys over there to try and get into the block, but Carpet Court had it all stitched up, window furnishings and carpet. So we just weren't allowed to get in there, even though we were just trying to do the fly screen part of it. And that sponsorship at that time, back in 2015, was around $300,000 to do blinds. So when Evan rang me about 3 weeks ago and said, how would you like to put your stuff on the block? Because we'd already talked to him about his exclusivity, for Queensland and stuff like that. So it's going to be good for him as well, in New South Wales. I said, oh, yeah, what's that going to cost us? He said, nothing. He said, I've got you in there. They want something new. The product's amazing. He said it's going to be a benefit for the show. So it's probably going to cost us around the 30 grand mark in product and the travel. And like Sam and I go over there each time. We did all the installs last week. And then it is, you want them to feature it. You can't force them to feature it. But the reaction that we've already had from the teams over there has been really good. So we feel that it's going to definitely be, and Evan will push it. Evan's got a lot of sway with all of the guys. And also, like I said, we'll be fitting out Scotty Cam's house in June, July, with a potential for a collaboration with him. So, which is more in Sam's field, where he'll actually do some social media all around that. So the reach is amazing. The timing's unbelievable. Like, we wouldn't want to be airing the block now. I don't think we're not quite ready for it yet. But in 2 months, when the factory is really pumping and we've got the shelves full, that's launching July, August. Our new version will be out as well. So, which prevents blowout of the fabric from the frames, which will be really new. So it's just a perfect year for us to really take advantage of that.
Well done. And in terms of innovation, John, where does that come? The new ideas for new products and expansion of products, or where does all that innovation side come from?
So Sam and I work on a lot of that together. The other partners are all involved when we come. We'll have a few brainstorming sessions. Most of it comes when I'm out in the market. Like, I still like to do installs every month, a few installs, difficult ones. We do bay windows, some real hard stuff that other people won't do. And then you just think, okay, how can we make this easier? And that just drives the innovation. It's the need behind it. The growing of the market itself and what other products we should offer, I'll take advice from people like Evan, who've been in the market. They'll say, don't worry about doing those things, do these things. Plantations are easy to do, great margin, that's what you want to get into. So I'll take my leads from people that are experienced in that field. But the innovation and product development, that's my love, and that's what I really like to do. So yeah.
And we've still got a lot of people online. As a shareholder, what is the company's sort of, how do we say it, investor communication strategy? Will you be as CEO communicating to me as a shareholder on a quarterly basis? Is that the plan? And what will you be sharing with us on an ongoing basis? If I'm a new investor that's new to investing in crowdfunding and new to investing in unlisted companies, there is no requirement on you to do anything, but ideally, as a good and faithful managing director and owner of a company, what will you give back to the shareholders and in terms of investor comms?
Yeah, so nothing's better than keeping your investor shareholders informed. Everybody loves that. Everyone's, if you don't hear anything for a week, it's like, what the hell's going on with the company? Now, obviously, minimum would be a quarterly report. I think, I'd like to have because communications are so easy to get out these days. And rather than wait for people to start bombarding you with questions, I think we would do like a monthly report. Obviously, anything significant that happens that will be getting banged out, like how things are going with the block. Once we can go public with all the stuff that we've done there, would be heaps and heaps of information. But there's a lot happening before that August release. So like new products, trade nights when we open our new showroom, all of those sorts of things. A lot of the stuff will be online all the time anyway on the website. There'll be an investor portal where they'll get obviously stuff that not the general public will get. And then Sam will be banging. I'm sure a lot of people will be getting stuff through Sam's, lots of these collaborations with the rugby player and all these other sorts of things. Just everything that the info it's so easy to get out these days. There's no reason not to do it on a regular basis.
Yeah, terrific. I guess that raises the question around crowdfunding. What was the catalyst to explore crowdfunding and go down that path?
Yep. Going back to my three original partners that are all Italian, why do we need to sell shares to anybody? We keep it ourselves. It's like, guys, it's all about the end game. So it is about my vision of listing the company on the stock exchange. Crowdfunding, it was good. I've had three potential shareholders ring up and say, I've tried to do this years ago and I got into trouble with ASIC because you can't bring 50 non-related parties in and all this sort of thing. I said, well, as a matter of fact, the last 5 years, this OnMarket equity crowdfunding has come in, which just fills that little space that's a startup company. And I don't class this as a startup anymore, really. I think we're several levels past the startup, proven a lot of things already. But it just gives you that base because when you want to list a company on the stock exchange, you've got to go for a hell of a lot of work with getting the valuation of the company right. I think it's 300 to 500 shareholders you got to have on your books. And that takes a lot of money just to get that all set up. Whereas with working with you guys, Tim, we can have that base. If we can get 300 to 500 shareholders now through this raise or the next raise or whatever, most of the work is done. Then it's just getting the value of the business to where you want it to be to make it worthwhile to list. So that's really what it's all about. So I managed to convince my partners in the end that it's for the best interest to have a lot of shareholders. And they're all potential customers. They'll all get a discount through the offer if they want to do DIY. And I think we've got a lot of existing customers that have registered. We've got over 2,000 customers. So there's a lot of them that have come on board to register. Because that's your proven, that's your marketing team as well. That they will tell their family about it. They can bring people in because if you've got a really good base of shareholders, it doesn't take any more. It's still one press of the button to send out the communication. It puts us in good stead for that whole IPO potential down the track.
No, it's a good answer. There's a question that's come in just in around your maximum raise size of $1 million, and can you accept overfunding? You actually can't. So just for those that are online, there'll be a minimum of $100,000 and a maximum of $1 million. So as soon as the company reaches that $1 million, you won't be able to get any more shares. We'll have to close it online, which we'll do, which has happened on many sort of previous crowdfunding raises. John, I'll just hand back to you. I think that's all of the questions. I'm conscious of time and the hour. Just before I sort of close out, have you got a closing statement that you'd just want to tell people in relation to your offer?
Yep. Well, guys, I think it's an amazing opportunity. As I said, I don't think we're in the startup category anymore at all. This is just about a growth strategy. To get the $1 million would be amazing. And I understand when people say, "Oh, why can't you do a bit more?" That's 20% of the company, and it puts a really good. It's a nice big chunk that can go out to the public, get us a really good bunch of shareholders that, like I said, we shouldn't have to raise money again. because everything's in place. It's just about the marketing and then feeding that market. So we're not saying, oh, we need to try this product or try this product, or it's really it's not money going to be burnt on trying things. The new product's already designed. It's going to be ready to go. We know with our suppliers and my experience that it's totally manufacturable, because it's also, you don't just have it come up with a product. You got to think, can this be manufactured at the right price? And that's always, you got to start from the end really and work backwards. And we've got that all in train. So it's really now just about feeding the beast, getting that stock on the shelves, because it's big purchases. You're talking about $100,000 worth of stock for a batch, but out of that you're making $3 or $4 million in sales. So, but it's all minimum extrusions. So it's I think it's an amazing opportunity. I think everyone's got the track record. We've got the team that we've got behind us is. I don't think we could have got a better team, really. Like, we're really lucky. And this has all just happened in probably the last 6 or 8 months. So it's just all come together, and then the blocks just fallen into our lap. But I think, not fallen into our lap, I think we deserve it. We've got a reputation out there now, and people, it's nothing better than having these quality sort of people knocking on your door saying, I want to be part of this game. Yeah, so come on board, guys. And we're open for communication, and don't be scared. And, we'd like to plan another webinar after all the documentation comes out next week. It's all about communication and being satisfied when you go to sleep at night that you haven't made a mistake.
And nicely said. Nicely said. And I think that's true. It's we do work with a lot of companies, and the companies that do the best are those that have the traction. They're not putting it into research and development. It's growth capital. It's all about expansion and scale. And I think those messages come through really clearly over the last hour. So I want to thank yourself and Sam, John. Really honest, transparent answers, and in detail. For those that are online and those watching recording, please express your interest if you haven't done so already. You can do that via our OnMarket website. For those that do express their interest, you'll be getting an email in the next couple of days, and prior to next Tuesday, maybe a couple of emails prior to next Tuesday, March 24, letting you know that the offer is open in a private capacity for those that express their interest. So look out for that email, letting you know it's open. And thank you everyone for attending, and thank you also to John and Sam from Midnight Anytime Blinds. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.